Yo, what's up guys, the Insane Game Freak here. I haven't done really a One Piece discussion in a while, so I want to talk about something. Obviously, from the latest chapter, we have surmised that Oda's really flirting with killing Law. Granted, it's Oda, and on top of that, I don't think... To me personally, I feel like there's a few more things Law would have to do before he'd be lit. I don't like... To have him die against Kaido just seems kind of weak. I mean, the die against Doflamingo seems kind of weak. You have him set up this whole plan to deal with everybody else, to deal with Kaido and have this full-on take down the Yonko Emperors. I feel like if they were going to kill Law, they should kill Law at Kaido. Like, if you're going to kill Law, let Kaido... Plus that, Oda's always had a thing that if he was going to kill a character, he always likes to kill the character. It'd be kind of annoying for us not to see Law's crew this entire arc and then to kill Law, and then it'd be like, oh, well, here's Law's time skip crew, but Law's dead. Like, there are just certain things I feel like Oda would do before that. He's never been that type of person to, like, kill a character. First off, he's not the type of person to kill a character, period. But he's also not the type of person that if he was going to kill a character by himself. Like, even in the flashbacks, he usually doesn't kill a character by himself without having him have some type of cool last stand, and having him even if his family or the people that he cares about watches him die, he usually don't do that much. So to kill Law in this manner, I doubt it. Plus that we have way too many ways to revive him at this point. I can't buy it. But I did want to bring up something that's somewhat controversial, and that's this. If they do kill Law, I would argue right now that Law's death would have way more of an impact to the viewer than Ace's. And that's the difference, because story-wise, I don't think Law's death will have that much importance, which is another reason why I don't think he'll kill Law. I've noticed that if Oda's going to do something big with a character, it usually means that character is going to have a heavy fucking emphasis. Like, usually if a character, like, it's like when Ace died, that shaped the rest, that pretty much set up the time skip in a lot of ways. But to kill Law in this manner won't do that much, if anything. It's like, oh, he just was announced not to be a warlord anymore, and then he dies right afterwards. Well, like Law's death wouldn't have that much of an impact, and Oda loves to do that. But my argument in here is that I think is when I say that Law's death would have more of an impact than Ace's, I don't find Ace's death that much of an impact to me as a person. I find it more of an impact to the world, and I felt like that death was really more used for world building than anything else. And let me explain why. People gain attachment to a character that they literally haven't even known that well. I mean, let's think about it. Up until Ace's death, I'm not talking about anything afterwards, so you can't count the flashback. When Ace was introduced, that's the first time we saw him. The second time was when he fought Blackbeard, and the third time was pretty much knowing that he was going to die. Because I think it was around Amazon Lily when Luffy found out, and every time you saw Ace after that, he was either in Impel Down, or going to Marineford, or sitting there on Marineford on the scaffolding, sitting there screaming, Luffy and Pops. And then after that, he dies. So like, as a character, I only like Ace because he looked cool. Like that, and that's how it's gonna be. I think the dub has really explained that, has really shown that more than anything else. He's introduced, cool as fuck. Second time, it's the first time you see him struggling. He's fighting against Blackbeard, and then the third time, he's whining and crying for like every time you see him until he gets freed, and then he's like cool for a few minutes, and then he dies. And then it isn't, and to me, I felt like Ace's death meant more for everything else but Ace. Especially because it was almost entirely his fault. Like, Ace's death is almost entirely his fault. There's nothing, and then people might get mad, but it's kind of obvious. Ace's death was entirely his fault. So it's kind of like, if Law were to die now, I can at least say that Law changed from being Luffy, and I've had moments with Law that I can enjoy. I mean, Punk Hazard in itself was funny enough to make me like the character, and then even the little moments, like one of my favorite Law moments from time skip wise was the whole, they're on the boat talking about where they're gonna go next, and everyone, and like Sanji's like, I'm making food, and Law's like, I'm trying to be serious here, guys. Can we discuss the plan? And he's like, I'm gonna make some bread. You want some bread? I'm making some sandwiches. You want some sandwiches, Law? And Law's trying to have this serious conversation, and then Law's like, I don't want crust on my bread. He's like, God damn it, they got me. I like that. I like how the Straw Hat influence was really interesting because and you can even tell that he's kind of more chilled out, and then his little speech here in this latest chapter where he's like, also, I have trademarked that no one else in the One Piece universe can use the bird. Fucking Law has trademarked the middle finger like a badass. And see, Law's always been one of those characters I flirt with liking because I don't necessarily like Law. He's probably in more of my favorites of the Supernovas, but at the same time, I never was like in love with Law, even when he was first introduced. I would say I like Law a lot more now than I did originally. But he trademarked the hell out of that middle finger. I like how you can... it just kind of pissed me off if you give me the flashback of a character then kill him. Because with Ace, it pissed me off because, to me, Ace's death was way more impactful for everyone else but Ace. And then on top of that, I couldn't even really... I mean, I remember when his death first happened and I questioned it like hell. Because I was like, wait a minute. First I questioned how Akainu was able to beat him when it's technically just fire versus fire. I mean, I understand it now, but it's one of those things that I can see someone easily questioning. But then on top of that, it's like, well, I didn't necessarily get that much time to like Ace, and then when I did like him, it was already after he was dead. So by the time I get to enjoy his character, he was dead. And then it just made me mad because Ace's death is held to this high regard, but I kind of hold it more to a high regard because of the shock value, not necessarily because of Ace himself. Ace himself did so many stupid things, and it pissed me off because his death could have been completely avoided if he had just stopped. That's the one thing I fucking hated, is that Ace's character, if anything, his death showed how stubborn this motherfucker was, that he wouldn't just fucking listen to reason. First off, he was told not to go fight Blackbeard, and for some dumbass reason, and I understand the reason, it doesn't make it smart. It's still a stupid reason. I understand why he did it, it's just a dumb reason. And then on top of that, and this one really pissed me off, you had your brother, his crew, and fucking your quote-unquote father and his crew come and fight for you, and for some stupid-ass reason, after all the shit you saw go down, all the people get hurt and killed and shit, you saw all that, and then Luffy along with Mr. 3 saved you, and you were running away. They had accomplished their goal, they had saved you. You, like a dumbass, still went back to challenge Akainu, which fucked you over in so many ways. It makes me mad because it was such a you could have just ran. You literally, all you had to do was run, and you fucked it. It's like you had to go out of your way to try to look cool in front of your brother after you just spent, like, I don't know how many episodes and how many chapters crying like a bitch. And it's just like, dude, well, at least with Law, I can easily say if he were to die here, even though I still wouldn't think, I personally would still disagree with having him being killed right now. If you want to kill Law later, that's fine. I don't think he should die right now. To me, it just doesn't fit One Piece style to kill him this way. But even then, Law to me has had more of a change in his character. I feel like he's grown in some ways. And I feel like I understand him better than if Ace were to die, than the way Ace died. Because the way Ace died, well, to me, it was more for world building, and I didn't care for the character. I still don't necessarily love Ace. It's like when they do the whole Luffy Sabo Ace thing, still wouldn't care. Also, I would hate if they did this shit, and I think people have already said, I think Sawyer said it first. Well, he was the first person I saw that said it. About pretty much they're setting Law to be kind of either incapacitated or knocked out, because the whole idea is to have Sabo come and help Luffy. Which I'm not a fan of either, because to me it's like, to me that just shows that Luffy still can't hold his own. And granted, Luffy hasn't been majorly fucked up by Doflamingo at this point. He hasn't taken any major hits. Then again, we haven't even seen Doflamingo do like a real fight. Like, we've only seen like snippets. Even when he beat Law's ass, we don't know how he beat Law's ass. And Law is pretty good as a fighter, and I think he's probably a better tactical fighter than Luffy. So, knowing that, and I wonder why they don't show that. If you've noticed, Oda hasn't showed Doflamingo fully fighting Law. Which I wonder, is that because there are certain limitations to the fruit that they don't want to show Doflamingo exploiting, or is that something they want to save for later? And that's the other reason why I don't believe Law's going to die, but the point of this video is just kind of trying to point out something that a lot of people hold Ace's death in high regard for. Ace's death, as just, not even in terms of the story, but just the character himself, was really stupid because it was entirely his fault. It was entirely his fault. His entire death was entirely his fault because he chose to do all these stupid things that led to him dying, especially when none of it, he could have easily avoided all of it. It actually pisses me off the way he fucking died because it's, you had your entire family come up there and hold you down, and you repay them by getting baited by a stupid ass statement of, oh, Whitebeard's weak. And I'm just like, bruh, you got, technically I would argue he got Whitebeard killed. It was because of what he did is that got Whitebeard killed. They could have ran and been fine. No, of course not. Because to me, after all that, even though he's come to love himself finally, which was his whole little character arc, he still hadn't learned what was more important, his pride or his family. The family network that he didn't think he really had. And you had such big issues trusting people. And for all of that, and you still were dumb enough to get baited, just kind of pisses me off, man. You could kind of argue that the whole thing about him fighting for his family is what led to his demise. The fact that he finally had a family that he cared about and people he wanted to protect, even though all he was protecting is Whitebeard's name. And it's like, bro, even if you were, it's like, even if you were to, it's like you just spent that entire thing watching them struggle. And for you to just do that just made me mad as a, like I'm serious, like as a recollection, I don't care for Ace's character as much as I care for what his death did. I think his death is actually more important than his character. Because his death led to more things in the universe than anything else. I mean, it led to Luffy's character progression. Because Ace as a character did more for Luffy, even though, let's be perfectly honest, Luffy held, to me, when it comes to that brothership, Luffy always liked Ace versus Ace, who didn't like Luffy from jump. I felt like Ace's death meant more to Luffy than it probably did to Ace. But I guess the whole point of this video is more so for Law, because as I said, Law, I've seen a change in his character. You can tell Law is kind of, to me, he's kind of like a Luffy. He's like a more dickish Luffy in my mind. Because Law's a lot more ruthless, but at the same time, he's almost just as sensitive. I mean, the fact that he rocks Corazon's name and the reasoning behind his entire fucking thing. The reason why he rocked, his character is built upon Corazon. And Luffy's is built upon Shanks. And a combination of Shanks and Aces. So, it's like, as much as Law seems different, I feel like Law and him are kind of kindred brothers. And then on top of having the D nickname, that also serves a purpose. And usually, if you have a D in your name, also, to me, killing him now wouldn't make any sense. What's the point of killing Law knowing that he's related to a D without fucking giving you any information, without having him carry on long enough for that to lead into something bigger? Because announcing that Law's a D now, especially because it was announced in a flashback, so technically none of the main characters know yet. I think only, I think it's just Don Flamingo. So, I just don't see Law dying yet. So I guess you could argue that this video is more so, I view Law as a better character, period, than Ace. The only thing about Ace I give him props for is that his death brought a lot of fucking change. Actually, just the announcement of him being, you know, murdered, or not murdered, what is it? Not sacrificed, what's the word I'm looking for? Executed. Just the announcement of his death caused so many events. Like, to me, Ace was just kind of a sacrificial lamb in some sense. They used him in order to change the world. Oh, and that's one of the few things you never expect other to do. Law, I can't see dying just yet. And even if he were to die, I would still say he was a better character than Ace in a lot of ways. But to have him die in that manner where it didn't lead into anything big, which is why I kind of like Sawyer's ideal about the whole thing about his death bringing upon a change in Luffy's character. Although it would have to be something like, to me, if he was gonna die, it needs to be a little bit more blatant than that. Not, you know, Luffy dealing with Bellamy coming out the hole and being like, "Fuck, Law, what happened?" And then Law giving him like some type of mental monologue. Also, making Luffy immortal, I will argue against that. I don't have a problem with him being immortal because there's a lot of interesting things you could do with his character to make Luffy and have him still be immortal. Especially because even though Luffy couldn't die, you could still trap him at the bottom of the ocean. You know, even if he can't die, he still can't swim also. So he'll just be at the bottom of the ocean without the ability to swim. Like there are interesting things you can do with immortal characters. You just got to set the world up to do that. And considering One Piece is one of those shows that doesn't kill characters anyway, it's kind of like the Straw Hats are immortal in their own right anyway. So yeah. Also, the biggest thing there would be that, yeah, even though Luffy can't die, his friends can still die, and that becomes an internal turmoil for him. So there are interesting plot lines you can do. It's just whether I just think he's gonna use Law as a way of changing Luffy's character, and even I'm hoping to God. I mean, this is what I prefer. I prefer it be Law and Luffy who take out Doflamingo in trouble versus fucking Sabo and Law. I mean Sabo and Luffy, because to me, that brother dynamic I get, but I don't want it to be the same thing with it. To me, it would just be Sabo reenacting Ace, and to me that does not show any progression. That just shows. And granted, I don't even care. Right now, Ace is like the least favorite brother. Like I like Sabo. Sabo is more of an interesting character than Ace is. That's just me. Anyways, that's just kind of some rambling and some thoughts. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. But I would still say right now, in terms of a viewer impaction, I would care more about Law dying than Ace. Actually, I've already thought about it. I probably would be mad as shit if they killed Law. Versus Ace, which I was kind of somewhat indifferent to. I'm indifferent to it now, more so. I feel like Ace's death only holds a lot of value because it was the first real during timeline death. But I don't know. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. This has been the Insane Game Freak. Life's a game, play to win, and I will catch you guys later. Peace!